Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Saturday, December, who knows, beginning of December sometimes. And I'm heading over to Chris's shop, and we are going to be starting the process of sanding down and shaping the tiller. I was very excited. We were all very excited last week when that came out of the mold, and it looked so beautiful. And there was that nice, gentle, sweeping curve that we were hoping would be there. And it was great. But now it's the scary part, right? Because now we're going to start shaping this tiller, and once we start shaping, if we screw up, there's no going back. There's no going back. We are stuck with what we have, and I'm really nervous. I gotta say that even from my days in high school wood shop some million years ago, 40 something years ago, I was not really good with shaping wood. So hopefully Chris can ease me through the pain. And this is just the start. I have the original tiller, so we can start to mimic the kind of the gentle curves and the shape and the outline and the beautiful taper that Cape Cod Shipbuilding builds into these. So we'll see if it's going to be really good or not. So thank you for joining us today in episode 7. This is the part 3 of the tiller. Some other projects that I'm going to introduce to you in a little bit. Stay tuned. Enjoy. So for rough shaping the tiller, we used a number of tools. Hand tools included a rasp, a draw knife, and a short form tool. As for electric tools, we had a handheld sander, we had an oscillating sander, and of course the bandsaw, which we screwed up with, but that's for another episode. The idea here was to kind of get a rough shape, and then we could fine-tune later. I think my favorite tool was using the draw knife. Had to be really careful with the draw knife, because if you dug in any bit too deep, it was going to take off a lot of extra material. Also, with the fact that we have laminates here, it could take off a whole laminate. And it did in certain instances cut a lot deeper than we wanted, but there was a lot of extra material. Like I said, the problem wasn't with the draw knife, it was with the bandsaw. Chris was kind of partial to the rasp. I think he was akin to it. Some of the other tools we ended up using on a later date, and you'll see as we refine more, was some Japanese saws. We didn't fun to use Japanese swords, but we used Japanese saws instead. And we were getting pretty close to getting pretty close to a final shape. So I taped a tape measure to the back of the original tiller, and about every 6 inches I measured the height of the tiller. I then transferred that dimension onto the new tiller and try to recreate the taper that Cape Cod Shipbuilding built into it. Then it was back to sanding and sawing and sanding and sawing, or as Mads would say, oh glorious sanding. Hey everybody, first of all I wanted to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm sorry to say that this episode is going to be a little shorter than normal. We had a tragedy in our family, and we've been dealing with that. But hopefully we'll get back on track with more full-length episodes as we move forward. So I appreciate everybody's understanding, and I hope you have a glorious, glorious holiday season. in mid to late December. We're just a couple of days before Christmas, and it's 50 degrees out in upstate New York. You know, a couple of days ago we had 8 inches of snow. Who knows what's going on with the weather anymore? I do know for the things that I love, skiing, sailing, we need to do something to kind of protect our environment and make sure that that there's not so much energy in the atmosphere, so these storms are less crazy when they come, and the swings in temperature are not that crazy when they come. Anyway, enough rant today. We're still working on the tiller, and so what I've done is I took the really beautiful lines of the old tiller, and I kind of scribed that onto the new blank, as I say, and now we're going to be cutting that out. Actually, we're going to be doing that tomorrow at Chris's place. We're going to be cutting that out and trying to start to refine some shape to the new tiller. The other thing I wanted to work through with you is rope. Okay, now there are no ropes on a boat. There are sheets, and there are halyards, and there are lines, and there are guys, and there are roads, but there are no ropes. Makes things a little bit confusing. On Raven, really what we have is we have sheets, and sheets are the lines that control the sail trim. Right? We pull it in to trim the sail, we let it out to ease the sail based on what the wind is doing. Halyards are the lines that raise the sail. So we pull it in, raise the sail up, we let it out to go down. The other thing that we have on Raven is we have dock lines, and those lines that tie the boat to the dock. And we do have an anchor rod, although I've never used it. So it's somewhere tucked into the cabin. One day we'll look at it. But with all these lines on a boat, you need knots. And there's hundreds of knots out there probably, but I really probably use 4 or 5. So I think if you ask 10 boat owners what their most important knot is, you might get 10 different answers. Probably the majority would say the bowline. But for Raven, it's probably a cleat hitch. First of all, why the cleat hitch is so important, it's what you use to tie to the dock. If you tie it wrong, you could lose your boat. There's lots of ways to secure lines. Lots of different kinds of cleats. There are cam cleats and clam cleats and jam cleats and rope clutches. And of all these really high-tech and very cool cleats, Raven has your standard horn cleat. And the same thing you're going to find on the dock. And so if you don't know how to tie a cleat hitch onto a horn cleat, you're not going to be able to sail Raven. It makes it more difficult for solo sailing. It makes it difficult for sailing with people who don't know how to tie a cleat hitch. If you pull your halyard and you raise your sail and it's not tied in, it's going to come down. So tying the cleat hitch on Raven is really important. So if you'd like to come sail with me, probably check out the next little section here where I show you how to tie a cleat hitch.